Good morning and welcome to the Slow Flow video. This is going to focus in on our front line, and the first part of the class we're going to be working on strengthening our front line, focusing more around keeping our core engaged while also kind of keeping our back body, our upper back body engaged so we can stay open. And then we'll also work into some balancing poses when we're in our sun salutations to work on the leg stability. That inner leg line is definitely part of our core. We'll open it up a little bit towards the end of the class and do some twisting. So for props today, if knee flexion is tricky for you, like reaching back from behind you and grabbing your foot, you may want a strap and something to kneel on in a couple blocks, and we'll go and get started. We'll start in child's pose. Take the knees nice and wide apart so that you have space for the abdomen to hang. And if your knees are sensitive, you can go ahead and put out a cushion or a blanket for you to kneel on. And then as the arms stretch forward, you'll want to rest the head down. And if it doesn't come comfortably to the ground, you can use a block. And let's come right to our lower belly breath. Focusing on, as we inhale, drawing the breath through our nose and down to our lowest part of our abdomen. Watching it fill up. And then on our exhale, starting to use a gentle amount of core engagement to expel the breath. You keep going with your breath. I forgot to shut my door here. Okay, and then we'll come up towards our tabletop and we'll take some cat-cows. So when you do these cat-cows, see if when you're starting in table, you can first ground yourself in a gentle core engagement. You feel the belly gently engaged, then you feel the lower ribs pulling back in towards the body, and keep a subtle amount of that as you move into your back bend and you take your cow, almost like your front body is just resisting the dropping slightly. And then on your exhale, we'll do a little extra squeeze of the core as we round the spine. Now just go between the two at your own pace, moving with your breath. Inhaling to your cow and exhaling to your cat. All right, I'm back to table, and we'll do our cat balance. So as the right leg extends back, the left arm extends forward. Lengthen as you breathe in. Tap the elbow and the knee as you breathe out. Lengthen. Tap. And we'll do that one more time. Lengthen. Tap. Extend. And then the foot and the hand will come down. Now the left leg extends out and the right arm forward. Mindful of that core as you reach and grow long. And tap as you breathe out. Long as you breathe in. Crunch as you breathe out. One more round. And then we extend before we bring the arm and the foot back down. Okay, I'm going to set my blanket aside. Right, And sometimes you can actually get away with putting your blanket under your mat and keeping it there the whole time. And then you kind of reduce the tripping hazard. If you find that you need it there most of the class, that's kind of an option. Okay, so we're gonna set the right leg back, toes tucked on the ground, pressing the ground away, feeling that core engagement. And as you inhale, I want you to hover your left knee off the ground. And as you exhale, put it down. Inhale, hover. Exhale, down. Hover. And down. All right, now we'll switch legs. Coming through tabletop, and then extending the left leg back behind you with the toes tucked. As you inhale, you'll float the right knee. Exhale, down. Inhale, float. Exhale, down. Float. And down. One more time, I lost count. Float. And down. Okay, back to our tabletop. And then we'll go ahead and sit back into a hero's pose. Building up underneath your seat if this feels intense for your knees or your ankles. And then rest the arms on the legs and come back to that lower belly breath, drawing in through your nose, down to your lowest part of your belly. You feel that little rise, and then we use our core engagement on the exhale. And if you're closing your eyes, that's great, but see if you can keep the chin lifted so that if the eyes were open, you would still be gazing towards the horizon. And just notice your internal weather as we breathe. How am I feeling? How does my body feel? What seems to be my mood? And just acknowledging that, we can see how it plays out in the things that we'll come across today. Okay, open your eyes and go ahead and interlace your hands behind your head. And the elbows will stay in your peripheral vision, probably in line with your ears. And then bring your awareness back to your ribs pulling in and your core pulling in. Now keeping that, I want you to gently press your head back into your hands. Not hands into head, but head back into hands. Now as you do this, keeping your lower ribs in, see if you can breathe into your upper chest. And then we'll release. All right, come back to your tabletop pose, and then we'll tuck the toes under just for a moment. And you could stay doing this in tabletop if it already feels nice and sensational, like something's working. Or if you want, you can set your hips back toward your heels. Tune back into that breath. Maybe it's even a little bit more audible now. Maybe you're breathing a little bit stronger. Sometimes the exhale sounds a bit like you're fogging up a mirror or glass, but with the mouth closed. You can exhale with the mouth open. That releases the energy from the body. So if you feel like you need to expel some heat, it's always nice to take a out your mouth. But building our heat will keep our mouth closed. All right, come back into your table, untuck your toes, and then we'll come into a dolphin plank. So first we'll set up our arms, we'll bend our elbows, and we'll bring our forearms down. Now let's try this alignment without clasping the hands. See if you can have the hands just as far apart as the elbows, which is about shoulder width distance. And then we kind of press the ground away. And feel that pull back of your head, just like we were doing when we had our hands behind our head. Then we check in with our core. The ribs are pulling in towards the body. The core is starting to engage already. And then one leg steps behind with the toes tucked, and then the other. Gaze between your thumbs. Keep your legs and the muscles of your glutes strong. Notice if you're piking your bum up, if you can drop so that your hips are in line with your shoulders. And we're shaking here. And breathing through our nose, practicing our calm and challenge. And then we'll drop our front of our hips down to the mat, untuck the toes, and we're in Sphinx. Pressing the ground down, pulling the heart forward, pressing the tops of the feet down. You want to feel your quadriceps engage so much that your knees kind of cover from the mat just a little bit. Maybe you gaze towards where the baseboard meets the floor of the wall in front of you. If you can't see it, you can imagine where that is. Notice the strong back muscles. Notice the muscles of your shoulder blades, right, pulling in and also down away from the ears. Notice some freedom in the back of your neck. And then we'll slowly lower down into baby crocodile. Stack the palms, rest the forehead to the back of the hands, and send some nice ballooning breath to your lower back. And then we'll windshield wiper the legs, lifting the feet and letting them go side to side. All right, the legs will come down and we'll push ourselves up towards the tabletop. And we'll prepare for a lunging pose. So you could come into your kneeling stand first, and we'll step the right foot forward. Okay? And then as we come in, we'll find that kind of engagement, hugging in and rooting down. And then you'll let your hips sink forward as much as you can. See if you can bring the hands down to the ground or to blocks. Back foot is pressing down. Front heel is pressing down. And we're hugging in with our outer hips and our core. Come back to that breath. Sometimes it's a challenge to find a subtle muscular engagement without the overall tension of the body. And keeping the breath going while we're practicing our strength is one way to do that. Okay, from here, we're going to go to a three-legged dog. Right, so coming into down dog and sending the right leg up and back in the air. So first I'll bring my hands either to the ground or maybe to blocks if stepping through and stepping back feels a little bit tricky to you. I'll tuck my left toes, lift my left knee, float my right foot and send it up and back in the air. And then once you get there, keep the same muscular engagement. Activating through the feet, hugging in through the outer hips and core. Now lengthen as you inhale, and as you exhale, come into a hanging plank where you bring your right knee in toward your chest. As you inhale, go up and back to your three-legged dog. And as you exhale, hanging plank. Inhale, up and back. Exhale, hanging plank. One more time. Three-legged dog, hanging plank. Now gaze between the hands and keep the right knee pulled in for 5, 4, 3, 2, and drop the right knee down and bring the left knee down to meet the table. And then we'll come up through our kneeling stand and we'll come into our lunge on the second side. So the left foot stepping forward, finding our engagement, rooting down, hugging in, core is on, and then we lean forward, letting the hips come forward too, into our lunge, maybe hands come to blocks. Easy strength, easy breath. And then we'll start to move to that three-legged dog. So the hands will either come to the ground or to the blocks on the lowest setting. All right, I'll tuck my right toes, lift my right knee, pick my left foot up the floor, send it up and back, three-legged dog. Rooting down, hugging in. Lengthen as you inhale and come into your hanging plank as you exhale. Inhale, up and back. Exhale, hanging plank. Inhale, up and back. Exhale, hanging plank. One more time, up and back. Coming to hanging plank, and we'll hold. Gaze right between your hands to the mat. 5, 4, 3, 2. Let the left knee down. Let the right knee down. And we'll sit back for a child's pose. I'll offer an arm variation, but don't feel like you need to take it. You can bring your upper arms and elbows to blocks with enough space in between the blocks for your head to fall. The hands will come together and the fingers can stay reaching up or falling to the back of your neck. All right, if your hands are behind your neck, let the hands release and come forward. We'll come up through table and we'll set our blocks towards the top of our mat, getting ready for our sun salutations. So let's come into a forward fold from here. Step the left foot to the ground and then the right foot to the ground and bow the head. Use the engagement of the front of your thighs, your quadriceps, to lengthen the back of your legs, keeping a little micro bend to the knees. You can feel your outer hips hugging in and your core pulling in. And you could stay still or take a little rocking side to side. I find that that helps me get some different angles working into the back of my leg. All right, and then we'll come into our skier pose, sitting the hips back, right? You can keep the torso resting on the thighs, and then we'll float the hands from the block. Feel your core engage, step into your heels and stand tall, look up, and then find your mountain pose as you exhale. So for this first round of a sun salutation, to help us turn on and engage our core, we'll use a block. So if you have a third block, great. If you don't, and you really like to have the blocks for your hands for when you step back, you could also squeeze your corpus ball for anything. You could squeeze a little pillow. You could squeeze a small towel. You could just pretend you're squeezing something and squeeze your legs. Okay? And when we do this kind of method of hugging or squeezing something, it always changes our feet placement a little bit, which isn't a bad thing. Variety is good and it helps us work new angles into our body. So you might lift your toes, spread your toes, really feel first the connection of your feet to the mat before we start. Once you feel grounded, bring your gaze towards the horizon. Imagine there's a magnet at the top of your head and it's reaching up for the ceiling. We can still feel our strong core center. Now as we inhale, we'll reach the arms up. And as we exhale, we'll forward fold. As we inhale, we'll come into a halfway lift, palms press the shin, still hugging that prop in between our legs. And on our exhale, we'll move to plank. So we've got to do baby steps to continue hugging our prop and getting our feet back. Walk them back a little bit more so the bum sinks slightly. Squeeze the heck out of that prop. Gaze to the top of your mat. Now drop the knees down. Gaze forward and bring slight bend to your elbow, almost like you were trying to tap the ground with your chest. Now tops of toes were pressed. We'll straighten our arms, use our core slightly, but also soft elbows pulling the heart forward. Now we'll send the hips back as we pass through table. We'll tuck the toes, keeping that block, hips up and back, down dog. On your inhale, look forward. And on your exhale, creep your feet back up to the top of your mat. We'll come into our halfway lift, our forward fold. We'll come into our skier pose. As we sit back, the torso comes to the thighs, arms reach forward, core is engaged. Step through the heels and stand tall. And then hands by our side. Okay. We'll do 2 more sun salutations. If you want to keep the block, keep working with that, you definitely can, or set it aside. And so now notice where your feet want to go. For that hugging in, right? Activating, I find it best with my legs together, my feet together. That creates that core strength, but the wider my feet are, the more stability I have. So find that balance where you still feel like you can engage that core, that inner leg line, but also feel stable too. Okay, so find that mountain pose again with the head levitating up towards the ceiling, the gaze to the horizon. As you inhale, reach up. As you exhale, forward fold. As you inhale, come into a halfway lift. As you exhale, come into plank. Create lots of strength in your lower body. Imagine you're hugging and looking forward. The knees will come down. Bend the elbows and sink the heart. Keep the core pulling in. Tops of the toes press. We take our back bend, our upward, modified upward facing dog. And then the hips go back over the knees. Tuck the toes back to down dog. 5 breaths. Next, inhale, look forward, soften the knees, and walk back to the top of your mat. Halfway lift, forward fold. We'll come into our skier, so we sit back, chest to thighs, drop the seat. Reach the hands forward. Feel your core, feel your heels. Stand up, hands by your side. 5 breaths in mountain. One more round. Inhale, reach. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale to plank. You stay here for a few breaths, cultivating core strength, inner leg strength, and open heart and gaze forward. Knees down, take a breath in. As you exhale, bend the elbows, lead with the heart. Keep the core pulling in. Tops of toes pressed, coming into a back bend. Use the muscles of your seat to squeeze as the heart reaches forward. Send the hips back as you exhale. Tuck the toes, down dog. See how it feels in down dog to bring your feet together. Can you feel that inner leg line hugging in more easily when the toes are touching? Inhale, look forward. Exhale, make your way to the top of your mat. We come into a halfway lift and a forward bow. Skier pose, sit back. Drop the hips as low as you can. Reach the arms forward. Feel your core. Step into your heels. Stand tall and find your mountain pose. Awesome job. We are warmed. We are nice and warm. Right? 5 breaths. Okay, so now we're going to work into our leg stability and how our leg strength helps us with balance. Because these core muscles, right, the front body, as well as the back body, the strength of the two, it's almost like an isometric contraction is what keeps us lifted, right? We can feel our strong core. We can feel our strong back, right? We can feel our legs from our stability, right? So it's kind of what keeps us balanced. So we'll play with being off balance using one-legged standing poses to just kind of work through and play with that alignment a little bit. And you can always have a chair, right? You can always rest a hand on a chair or a hand to a wall. Okay. So first what we'll do is shift the weight into the right foot and you'll lift the left heel. So left heel is lifted. I'm on the ball of my left foot. Now I want you to gaze towards the horizon. And while you're looking ahead, bring your awareness into the bottom of your right foot. Feel the toes spread, feel the contact points with the ground. And feel that your right leg is nice and strong. You can feel your right glute engaging, your right quadricep engaging, your outer hip engaging. Now from there, see if you can float your left foot by bending your left knee upward a little bit more. Core is still on. Now we'll hinge from the hips. So gaze to the floor. Lean the torso forward as you send the left foot back to an airplane pose. Strong core, open heart. Back of the head back. Keep easy breathing through the nose, contracting your abdomen as you exhale. Outer hips hugging in. Now soften the right knee and step the left foot to the back of your mat into your lunge. Woo, crescent lunge. Let's bring hands to hips. We can help kind of activate those outer hip muscles by bringing our hands to our hips. And you can always widen your feet for more stability or practice with less stability. What does it look like to have the feet a little bit more narrow if this is feeling easy peasy for you? You can always increase your depth, right? Bring more of a shelf to this front thigh. Okay, from here, we're gonna step to chair pose, which will mean both feet together at the top of our mat with our knees bent and our hips back. Hands reach forward, feel your core, stand through your heels and tall, reach up, and then hands by your side. And we'll take 5 breaths in mountain. Maybe you practice having feet together in mountain. See how that feels. Right? And all of our cues that we've been working so far, the engagement, see if you can find that in your standing posture. We don't want to kind of immediately go back to like doing dishes at the sink. Okay, we'll work slowly, that mindfully way, into our left leg being our standing leg. So the weight shifts to the left foot. I come to the ball of the right foot. I spread my left toes, I let them rest down. I feel with my mind while I'm gazing forward, just the bottom of my left foot, the strength of my left leg, left hip, left glute. And then I'll float my right foot when I'm ready. Core turns on. Now my gaze will shift to the floor as I hinge forward and very slowly start to extend my right leg back. My outer hips are hugging in. I'm breathing into my belly and compressing my belly on my exhale, right? Using my core. Left leg will soften and we'll step back with the right foot. Right heel is lifted and play. Play with how wide apart your feet are, bringing hands to hips to help with that outer hip hugging in engagement. Maybe finding a little bit more depth in the pose front to back, creating that shelf with your front leg. And to chair pose we go. So the right foot will step forward to meet the left. We'll sit back, arms forward. Feel your core, feel your heels, stand tall. And then find your mountain pose. And we'll take 5 breaths in mountain. Okay, so we'll go through a sun salutation B, where from down dog we step to our warriors. And we'll see how that step through feels. That step through is, as far as what we can control, it's our core, right? The strength of our core helps us kind of create that pulling in to pull that leg forward like we're doing in our hanging planks. It's also a factor of your arm length and your leg length, which you just can't change, right? So if you need a little extra support, again, hands to blocks, this could feel much better. So if you have your blocks on the lowest setting height, right where your hands would be in down dog, that could be helpful. And we're going to start with the chair. So go ahead and bring your toes to touch. The heels could have a little bit of space and feel that hugging in as you sit back, hips go back and knees stay right over the ankles. Now on your next exhale, bring your chest to your thighs and bow. Let the head go and then straighten the legs, hug the inner thighs and hug the outer hips. Now we'll come into a halfway lift. From the core, chest and gaze lifts forward. And then the hands will come down and we'll step back to our plank pose. From that wave of strength from the lower body, can you feel your chest and your gaze lift forward? And then we bring our knees down. Take a breath in, bend the elbows, lead with the heart. Core is on. Tops of toes, feet, upward facing dog. Squeeze your glutes, maybe the knees lift if that feels okay on your back. And then knees come down, hips come back through table and into our dog. Now the right leg lifts back and up. Hug the outer hips in as you do so. Now hanging plank, bring your right knee into your chest. You can find a little cat in your back as you try to step that right foot forward. It's okay if it doesn't get there on the first time. Now to practice our warriors, we'll drop that back foot, that left foot down on the diagonal. Hug in the outer hips. Reach one hand forward. Reach the other hand forward. Feel your core root into your heels. Stand tall to your warrior pose. Now we'll go back to our down dog. On your next exhale, bring your hands down to the block or the mat. Hug that right hip in and step the right foot back to dog. Left leg up and back, hugging in the hips. Hanging plank. Pull that knee toward your chest. Step the left foot forward. Drop the right foot down on a diagonal. Rooting down with the feet, hugging in with the hips. Reach one arm forward, the other. Feel your core, step into your feet. Warrior one. And then we'll go to dog pose. So if you need a break, come into child's pose or tabletop. If you like to add in a little vinyasa, flow through to plank as you inhale. Maybe knees down. Exhale, bend the elbows. Inhale, take your strong upward facing dog. And then drop your knees as you exhale, send the hips back, tuck the toes, dog pose. And then let's all come down to child's pose for 5 breaths. Okay, come forward into your table, back into your dog. Feel your core, feel your inner leg line hugging in, feel your hips reaching up and back. Next inhale, look forward, soften the knees, come to the top of your mat. Find your halfway lift. Now sink your knees in your hips so that your torso comes to your thighs. Reach the arms forward. Feel your core. Step into your heels. Stand tall, look up. Mountain pose. Okay, we're gonna come to some seated postures. So we'll do 3 or 4 of them. So it will be nice to just spend a little time getting something together for you to sit on, whether it's your 2 blocks, whether you have another thinner prop that you prefer to sit on. And we'll do Baddha Konasana, we'll do butterfly first. Right, as I was saying last night, a little bit of hiking, all of that strength, right, you kind of can feel that as sensation. So know that if your body's feeling tight, it could just be a nice, strong sensation from the strength of your muscles. So if you're like me and you need a little bit of support, you could put blocks to the outer edges of your knees, right, kind of supporting them there. And then we're sitting up nice and tall with our spine. Here our pelvis is neutral, right, not leaning back, not leaning forward. And from there, we'll lead with our heart. Now you can hold onto your legs and activate by pressing the bottom, especially the outer edge of the bottom of the feet together, and feel your glutes activating. And your forearms could be pressing down into your legs. Feel your core engaging, but feel long and lifted and open right? So the core is on, but we're resisting the rounding with our back, with our head. Practicing that hinge first, right? And then we can soften and we can round, changing it more into getting some space between the back of our vertebrae. And the hands can go down wherever you need to support you. You could even put your gorgeous ball underneath your abdomen or a block if the back needs more support. And then we'll push the ground away, lift the torso on up. Okay, we'll do our single leg stretch or our half butterfly. So we'll start by extending the right leg. And as we extend the right leg, it's kind of directly in front of us. We'll take it a little bit onto the diagonal, right? Not as much as you can do, a little bit on the diagonal. And then we turn our torso to face that leg. If the back is sensitive, you could put a block underneath the back of the right knee too. Maybe you're still supporting this outer knee. And then we'll drape our torso over and the left hand will reach over for the right leg somewhere and then bow the head. If the lower back is sensitive, it's always good to stay mindful and engage your core. All right, we'll unravel, come on up, and we'll switch sides. Left leg extends, right leg bends, maybe a block underneath that right knee, maybe a block under the left knee. The left leg is out on the diagonal just a little bit, and we turn our torso to extend that way too, and we bow over the leg, right hand reaches over for the left leg somewhere, and bow the head. Core is engaged. All the muscles can be activated in this pose. See how it feels to use your glutes, to activate and flex your left foot, to use your core. And then slowly round up. Okay, we'll extend both legs out. Dandasana. I've been noticing the dirty bottoms of my feet. It's just not a good season for clean floors in my house. I apologize. Okay, so in Dandasana, the hands push down as a way to lift the heart and extend the chest. But we also want to be mindful we're not back bending. So tune into the ribs pulling in while the chest is wide. The core rising and falling with our breath. The legs strong, almost like the back of the legs are trying to stamp down into the ground. Okay, and now we'll forward fold. So let's stay wide and open. So first just think wide across the chest. My shoulders are back, my arms are in the sockets, and then I'm bringing my abdomen closer to my thighs. Keep the feet flexing up towards you, and you could hold down now with both hands to the legs if you wanted to. Maybe both hands to the feet. And if you want to take this into rounding, you can go ahead and round the spine, bow the head. You could take your gorgeous ball and place it in between your legs and your torso if you need more support. And press the ground away. Come on up with your torso. Okay, we're going to take a seated twist. So let's see, we'll bend the right leg and then the right foot comes to the mat. My foot's about in line with my right ankle, and that could be okay. Maybe your foot's in line with your left knee. Maybe your right foot's in line with your left thigh. Any of those, whatever feels best. Notice if you bring the foot too far back, if you start to roll back. You want to stay nice and lifted, so that's a fine balance. Now the right leg can stay on the right side or hop up and over towards the other side. And if the knee is sensitive, the left leg can stay extended just as, or you can roll a little bit to the left, bend the right knee, and have the right foot come back towards the right hip. Or sorry, have the left foot come back towards the right hip. All right, and now find that nice tall spine. Feel both of your sitting bones rooting down. Feel wide in the chest, feel your core engaged, your outer hips hugging in. Same old, same old. All right, right hand reaches over, maybe up and over, and the left hand tense behind us, right? Not leaning back, but twisting and gazing back behind our back shoulder. And then we'll untwist the torso. We'll extend both of our legs and we'll take that to the other side. The left leg will bend somewhere, still feeling nice and upright in the hips. And the left leg could stay there, come over to the other side of the right. Right leg could stay long or bend and bringing the right foot to the left hip. A few moments to ground and lift and strengthen. And then the left hand comes up and over and the right hand tense behind us, staying nice and tall, aligned with head and shoulders and hips. We'll twist and look over the right shoulder. And then we'll unravel the torso and unravel the legs. Could bounce the knees a little bit. And then we'll prepare to go down to our mat and we'll set up for a supine twist. Have a block or whatever prop you have within reach. And find half corpse. Knees are bent, feet are to the mat, and the knees and the feet are about hip width or outer hip width distance. And feel the bottoms of your feet to the ground. Feel the back of your hips to the ground. The back of your shoulder blades. And the back of your head. All right, we'll take the arms out nice and wide with the palms facing down. Bring the knees in towards your chest and then let them fall to the right. And you can choose the variation where the knees are kind of stacked, or you can let your left leg, your left foot skate back a little bit. So maybe the left knee is aligned closer to the right foot or the right ankle. And then choose your gaze, up to the ceiling or out over to the left. And then the knees will come back to center and we'll set up for the second side. Palms are wide, facing down, knees to the chest, knees fall left. keeping the knees stacked, or the right leg could skate back so that the right knee is closer to the left ankle or left foot, but there's no specific alignment needed. That's just to kind of give you an idea of how the right knee is dropping back, and then choose your gaze. All right, we'll come onto our back and we'll set up for a supported bridge pose. So we'll take the block and we'll place it underneath the back of our seat. And then the arms will come out into a T shape or a bowl pose shape, or maybe reaching back, resting on the ground where the arms are extended up overhead. And then you can creep the feet forward as much as feels okay. If it starts to feel pinchy on your back, go ahead and rebend your legs. A nice pose to open up the core now after all that strengthening. Hey, I forgot dancer pose. Oh well. Say love. Life never ever goes as planned. Not exactly. There's a few blue moon exceptions. Okay, and now walk the feet, both of the feet, step them a little bit over to the right. This will almost give you a little bit of a banana type stretch in that outer left hip. We're definitely engaging those today. And then the feet step through center and then over to the other side. And feet back to center, bending the knees if they're not already. And then we'll take one knee, bringing it in towards the chest, the other knee, bringing it in towards the chest, letting the thighs just kind of sit on the abdomen. If you need more help getting them to connect, you can bring your arms to hold your legs in some fashion. And then we'll extend the legs up for a waterfall pose. And then we'll bend the knees and bring the feet down to the mat. You can set your block aside. And we'll come into our final resting shape. So that could be Shavasana, starfish, half corpse, fetal shape, laying on your abdomen, whatever feels good. And then we'll also be mindful to rest our thoughts. So if they try to creep in, kindly ask them to wait a few more moments. And then we'll bring a little bit of movement to our fingers and our toes and our wrists and our ankles. Bending both knees, hugging the knees towards the chest and giving a couple rocks side to side. And then you could come through fetal shape or rock and roll up to a seat. And we'll end class sitting together nice and tall. Rest your hands on your thighs and close your eyes. Feel the length that you've created in your spine as you breathe. Feel the clarity of your mind. And we'll bring our hands to heart center with a little gratitude for making your time for ourselves this morning. And together we breathe in and out. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me, and take care.